social media currently. However, me going live on social media is going to be an interesting test. Is how are people going to find it? But let's have a look. Okay, so let's have a look at first thing at social media, just ever so briefly, before we have a look at some stuff that I'm noticing. It may affect you, it may not affect you. Timeline blank. What's going on? Seems to be okay. I'm streaming alright. And now what happened then? Phone's going nuts. One of them. And well, maybe it was just a brief downage, because I did have here about an hour ago. I was gonna begin a stream, but I had to do some other stuff. Lucky I didn't, because it would have gone down in the peak of the outage. Now, so that's just one thing. Just imagine how horrible. Imagine if social media blacks out, you can't access anything. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? It wouldn't, make everyone revert back to maybe the TV, maybe the radio, maybe the internet, maybe not social media though, maybe government-based websites. Maybe that'll be the only credible source of information moving forward, especially with the EU stuff attacking Elon. Now that's the next thing here. We've got basically a lot of world events taking place all at the same time, as well as social media being down. Here in Australia, we actually have we didn't have a boat. We literally didn't have a boat. Now I'm a little bit concerned because, in a time of potential, global conflict, God forbid, something actually does happen. But knowing that our military doesn't have enough equipment, it's just great to know, without trying to push the military-industrial complex, because that is a big issue with where your taxpayer dollar goes, I think, and a lot of the black budget stuff. But at least if they're going to be doing that, can you at least keep me safe, keep me protected? Because
now the Australian government coming back home is
not
set to reject a US Navy request to send a warship to the Red Sea, despite a meeting overnight with the US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin. Greg, look, I understand why we're not doing it. We literally don't have the boat to send. Now, that's a problem for us to deal with.
We don't have the boat to send. Okay. Are you serious? So it's like, we could send a boat, but then we'll be short somewhere else. It makes me think that we're not prepared for a full-scale war. Yeah, I'll leave that there for what it's worth. Because of the World War III fears, such as skyrocketing, Putin threatens to expand war to EU nations. Now, wouldn't that just be great for the economy? I'm not sure how it would fare like cryptocurrency. It might do okay, same with some precious metals. But in times where digital disruptions could take place and social medias could be out, internet cables could be cut and the like, it's a little bit concerning, especially when you read, especially when you look at how the war in Ukraine has gone, in terms of there's two sides to that. I think Russia thought it'd be a walk in the park. It wasn't. But on the other side, Ukraine thought maybe they could invade all of Russia. I'm not sure that's going well. You'll have a look on some independent media sources, and they're basically explaining how the Ukrainians' youth is being sent into the meat grinder. And now not even just the youth, but they're having issues with their... I wasn't able to read this. I wasn't able to get through the particular... Let's have a look if I can... This may work, may not. Definitely don't smash the escape button. Yeah, so definitely don't smash the escape button. And that will not get you past a particular, paywall. Isitdown.com. It was let's have a look. So I'm just checking the chat now. Basically, I may have got through a different article I opened. and is it down.com? Basically, down detector. I don't think it's continuously down. Basically, what I saw was I can access it. Some people were saying they couldn't see anything on their timeline, so it was just like blank. Down detector. Have a look. On a screen I prepared earlier. Basically, we're seeing here there was a huge spike, but it seems to be easing back now. YouTube was down as well, low. I've got no love for YouTube. But there was a bit of a spike, kind of concerning. Cash App low. But it seems to be like, not widespread and catastrophic. But that's a huge spike. Huge reports. It's easing back. Some people said basically they thought that they were censored again, but it does seem to be okay. Yeah, so people were seeing this. Welcome to your timeline. It's empty. So I had my Twitter on, but I actually didn't. I was doing some other stuff. Now, yeah, so I'm a bit concerned about the whole Ukrainian front and the expansion, but I don't know if it's true or not. The talks of expanding, Russia expanding outwards, and then we see, Ukrainians' frontline troops are getting older. They physically can't handle it because maybe their youth has been destroyed, unfortunately, horrifically, and they're just going to the meat grinder. And it's like, why? I've heard basically, why is Russia going to negotiate at all when Ukraine is not in a position to negotiate with? Like, Ukraine is not in a position of power currently. They are unable to progress forward. They're fighting over a small advance either way. Basically, Russia's just sitting there, and Ukraine is sending their troops in to die, and it's messed up. Australia sent some equipment over there. It's all destroyed. Then we see the drones are being flying through, the missiles. Like, either way, I would imagine. But yeah, it's bad. I don't like war. Although I don't like, Australia being not defenseless, but we haven't got like a one ship to send, like literally not even one ship. But I read somewhere else, maybe it's more of a geopolitical position. However, it's just concerning, knowing that the next thing that is this. Xi warned, again, this is all media, it could be just hype, the fear mongering, put us in a state of fear to try and control us easier, as we all saw with certain pandemics that took place, where people were more inclined to listen to the advice put forward to them without thinking logically for themselves and applying decisions that they may normally have. Instead, they were scared out of their brains. Now, I actually just had a thought. Hang on. Alright, hang on. I'll be right back. It's just the men in black, no need to worry. Now, Xi warned Biden he plans to take Taiwan by any means necessary. So that's wonderful to know that everything is sort of calming down. We're seeing less risk of increased conflict, less risk of ongoing conflict worldwide, and less uncertainty and fear in the economy. But for some reason, everyone's focused on the rates and how they're magically going to be cut and how that's going to fix the economy and everything's going to pump again. It's like, well, what if some wars potentially break out? You know, it could be an issue. And I personally wouldn't like to be living in the US near the border at the moment because I'm seeing some disturbing stuff over there. And some analysts have broken that down, basically saying that, you know, once people, if they would have to send foreign intelligence across to a country like America, for instance, they would have to create a huge backstory to them. But now it's like, just send them across the border illegally. Who cares? There's groups of African migrants, there's groups of Chinese men. I think there's some groups of also like Mexicans as well. Possibly throw some other nationalities in there, all crossing the border illegally into that particular country. So that is, I would be a bit concerned. I would call it the Biden border blunder. And maybe, you know, it might affect his chances of running for or winning 2024. I don't know. Maybe it'll be the oil shortage. Maybe it will be the they call them the goat herders, the Houthi Yemenis rebels, literally causing issues and basically clogging up supply lines. And instead of going through the Strait of Hormuz, I think it's called, they have to go right around to the west, the African ports, and then through up and around, and then through to, like, say, Taiwan, and then through to the South China Sea. And that's just wonderful at the moment as well. You know, no big shipping lanes there. But we see here, basically warned Biden last month, he intends to end Taiwan's decades-long de facto independence peacefully, if possible. Some people say because of the year of the dragon, but that's more if you're superstitious and more inclined that way. I mean, myself, I may or may not. If you have a kid, you only get one chance, usually one cycle, to have a dragon. So that could be a thing. You know, my missus is half Chinese, so she and her family like sort of believe in that sort of stuff. I'm sort of neutral, but it sounds kind of cool. If you believe in that, you know. Now, we have this here. The EU investigates Elon Musk X for spreading illegal content. So while we have geopolitical turmoil, unrest, I guess you could call it, and leading into a US election, issues at their border, Australia unable to send support abroad, China indicating that they're going to take Taiwan peacefully, hopefully, Russia indicating they may expand their war efforts to other countries in Europe. Now, I can't remember which ones, but they were probably the smaller ones that weren't actually in NATO. Moldova, the Baltic nations, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania stands out as the most probable targets. We see a high dependence on social media that can unfortunately have large outages, and that can affect, you know, the ability to communicate if it was an emergency. Like, for instance, I use the Twitter for local emergency alerts, like if a tree's down, if there's a fire, if there's weather incidents, if there's crashes. That's what I use it for. So when people took me down off of X, or Twitter, formerly Twitter, I was unable to use those services. So I just can't believe that they were able to do that, because in that sense, isn't that almost like a utility to keep you safe? But it's like, you can't use this anymore. It's like, okay, shouldn't I know if there's a car crash? Shouldn't I know if there's a crime going on? Shouldn't I know if there's like a bushfire to stay away from certain areas, like if it's the summer, or if it's the winter, some sort of huge torrential downpour, tornadoes, etc., cyclones, depending on what area you're in. And all of this is happening after the pandemic, and, you know, after all that sort of stuff was the aftershocks now, with people potentially having side effects reportedly, and unexplainably, I guess you could say as well. But now, if you even question that, you go against the World Health Organization guidance, and that's the official guide. You have to follow the official guide, otherwise your channel does get taken down. As you may have seen previously, I covered my mandate training, so I'm hoping I'm applying the chilling effect right now. I didn't just breach it, because I had, I think, 90 days, and if you spoke out negatively against certain things, then they issue you one strike, which a lot of times you can't get back, because previously you were able to appeal, but this time you can't appeal, because they have taken away the ability for you to express your words, and I'm pretty sure it's algorithmic. But they did give you some training, some thorough training, and basically said if you come out and say anything against the WHO, bad. So YouTube, to keep you happy, I'm 100% in agreement with your policy in terms of the World Health Organization knows absolutely everything, and they got everything right. And when I said that there's unexplained deaths, I was merely pointing out articles which explain that there's unexplained deaths and a high uptick in those who were, they received the gene therapy. Now, I just need to stop talking right now on that particular topic because I'm pretty sure a strike's coming. But it's on Rumble anyway, so I may do a stream and just link it over to Rumble and then start it from Rumble. Not so sure. But I'm not sure how it works over on Rumble, if you can apply mods and things like that. We'll see how it goes. But X is back. Uncertain geopolitical movements happening right now. Australia's kind of weak. Russia's kind of strong. China's kind of strong. I have concerns for the US. And coming off the pandemic, which I got off topic. And then the economy was kind of wrecked throughout it all because of lockdowns, and which the economy is trying to figure itself out. It appears to be getting better because, inflation is going down when it's actually still, price of everything's still going up, but the amount it's going up by is decreasing. And now we're talking about the Fed maybe decreasing their rates sometime in the next few months. Who knows? I don't think it's going to happen straight away. I can't really repeat what I've heard because it may not be true. Now, this here is this is the next thing. So while all that's going on, everyone's focused on either this war, that war, social media, the economy, maybe crypto, for example. There's this. It's like the newly revealed Jeffrey Epstein associates. It's like I kind of want to know who's on this list, and if you go through here, again, I'm not sure if paywalls are on this article. We shall have a look. It's taking forever to load. While we wait for that one, we have this one here, also New York Times. Again, not so sure if paywalls are on this here. This one here. We have here, though, the list of Jeffrey Epstein's associates named in lawsuits must be unsealed, judge rules. Here are details on the documents released. Now, we all know who this lady is here. And we know that the US federal judge on Monday that the list of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged victims, associates, some of whom have been accused of being involved in the disgrace, financing, exploitation, and abuse of underage girls, must be unsealed and made public. More than 150 names may be. So this is kind of interesting to watch, because if you've been following this for the longest time, I feel like it was the Pfizer approach, where you can get the results of the particular jab after 75 years, but there's nothing to hide. But this one, you can have more than 150 names maybe made public as part of a settled civil lawsuit against British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell. The lady here, I think you may have seen her previously holding a little puppy, sitting at a cafe. Now, who was found guilty of conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse underage girls for at least a decade, brought by Virginia Gureffi, who accused Maxwell of recruiting her for abuse. I believe it was called the Lolita Express from memory, and everyone knows the famous Epstein Island. Gilfuri has called Maxwell the mastermind behind Epstein's sex trafficking ring, and the list of names could include Epstein's co-accused and co-conspirators, as well as a wide range of people listed in the lawsuit. God damn, this is going to be absolute fire if they release this shit. Maybe a whole lot of people are going to not kill themselves. Because, anyway. The maximum security prison wasn't able to stop Jeffrey Epstein from either being suicided or, put into protective custody, one of the two. And basically that Maxwell had access to very well-known people, including government officials, politicians, and royalty. So this is going to be extremely interesting to see who is on this list if it ever does get released. Now, again, this is not Yeah, just what we'll do, we'll come up with a code. We'll just type in code. I'll start blinking in Morse code. Probably his YouTube algorithm will be like, all right, he's blinking in Morse code. Quick, get the AI bot onto it. Oh man, I don't know if it. Yeah, I don't know how it works with the whole reading of notes the in the chat. I'm not sure if someone can come in and just spam random shit and then that can like flag it. I'm actually not sure. It could though. It possibly could, but I'm more inclined to think it's the words of the streamer. Maybe it's the transcript that comes up and gets fed through a machine, a system. It's like any sentences, and now with now we understand how we kind of see how ChatGPT does its stuff. Imagine being able to program it and telling it to look for this certain sentences in a transcript. It might be able to pick up, oh, he said this, he said that, he alleged this, or he stated this, or he questioned this, because I guess there's a difference between a full stop and a... Alright, think this time. I'll be right back. I need some elevator music. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to pick up. Hang on. Where was I? So the next part is, will the documents be unsealed? Sort of breaking this up. I should be more precise in the coverage, but it's pretty damn interesting. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've got kind of got the microphone set up to, went on YouTube and looked up. I did it, but I have no idea what I did, but it seemed to work, so that's good. Now, the associates were named in a civil defamation suit filed in Virginia Gulfi in 2015, Maxwell. The judge detailed the reason behind the publication of the names, noting many have already been mentioned in the media. For others, the substance in question was not salacious and should be kept sealed. The ruling said some JDAs are minors, possible victims. Oh, goddamn. And the Presca ruled that those names and any identifying information will remain sealed. Then it says, it's kind of confusing because it says, when will the list of names be released? The ruling stated the list of names will be made public on January 1st. Dude, Happy New Year. Giving the listed JDAs about 14 days to object to the publication of their names. Interesting. I'm not sure if that means... I'm not sure if that means that on like here in Australia that they're referring to maybe the 1st of Jan, so maybe it would be the 2nd of Jan here. The ruling allows the impacted doe to the opportunity to appeal. Court document said after the widow to appeal closes, the documents will be unsealed and posted to the docket. So that would mean released, then they're given the procedure. Do they want to appeal? So it won't be till mid-Jan or it'll come out. Maybe by then we're in a crypto bull market, beginning of the bull market, which I think we might be in now, but I don't know anything about crypto, clearly. I don't know how I tied crypto into this. Then they're saying, what were the accusations against Epstein, the deceased Epstein? I think that's going to pick up. If the dog's bark, I might have to keep going through it. But what were the accusations? Epstein was accused of sexually assaulting countless teenage girls, some of them as young as 14 years old. According to prosecutors, Epstein alleged exploited a vast network of underage girls for him and his wealthy clients to have sex with at his homes in Manhattan, Palm Beach, Florida, and his private island near St. Thomas, which is famous for the Epstein Island, which some people spoke about as a conspiracy theory, which later on became true, which was kind of mind-blowing how they would be following that sort of information when no one else was. He was also accused of utilizing the network of employees to ensure continuous access to victims. It's a pretty full-on story. Now, Britain's Prince Andrew is one of the high-profile figures who had been accused of being one of Epstein's alleged co-conspirators. Golfier had alleged that she and the British royal had sex in 3 locations when she was underage. Now, I shouldn't laugh because this is like a movie script. Like I guess this is old news now because of what took place after this in relation to Prince Andrew himself, reportedly. But Andrew has denied any wrongdoing and said he didn't know anything about Epstein criminal behavior. So we'll just leave it there because, you know, words are kind of powerful, and I don't want to say the wrong ones because I might get in trouble, maybe lose a channel, I don't know. Epstein was charged by federal prosecutors in 2019, but if that was the case, it would be interesting because like, who's watching this channel anyway? I don't understand why YouTube's so obsessed with me speaking those tiny wrong words and then, oh, you've been censored. It's like, hang on, but I thought this was YouTube and I'm supposed to say shit, and then okay, I might stuff some things up, but then you point out, other people can point out where it was wrong, you know. It's not like I'm actually committing a crime or anything, but according to YouTube, you can commit thought crimes on the platform and they can just cancel you. Well, they can give you strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, maybe you can appeal it, and then you end up like Stephen Crowder and his show. I think they're facing a lot of strikes, basically, which is appalling for free speech. Back to this though. Epstein was charged by federal prosecutors in 2019 with 1 account of sex trafficking conspiracy and 1 count of sex trafficking with underage females. A 66-year-old financier died by suicide in his jail cell, reportedly, in Manhattan in a little over a month after being arrested. Charges against him were dropped after his death. Like I said, there's a conspiracy out there. I've heard that protective custody, and also that I've heard also conspiracies about maybe he didn't suicide. Maybe he was someone somewhere had access to a person in, you know, a jail cell in maximum security, you know, covered by cameras 24/7, and no one saw nothing. Okay. But again, if you question that, then maybe you breach YouTube's their wonderful initiatives for free speech. This is why I back up on Rumble, because I think my channel is leaning towards Rumble, where it's going to head. JP Morgan Chase reached a $290 million settlement with victims of Epstein's claims the bank overlooked the financing of sex trafficking and abuse. Blah, 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 blah. Abuse because it wanted to profit from banking relationship with him. Dude, that's literally follow the money. I can't explain that any better. But this is like real life. This is actually took place, reportedly, allegedly in some cases, and yeah, it's horrible. My opinion on this as I guess an independent individual it's just messed up. And this is why I think there's just evil in the world. There's good in the world. I think I'm trying to be good by covering this, even though it's kind of disgusting to talk about this sort of stuff. It's to some, but the fact that it happened to people to bury this under the rug and not cover this sort of stuff is almost like covering up. You know, that maybe Twitter was down, and why was it down? How did it get taken down? And maybe that there's some other motive behind these world wars. I don't know whether it's profiteering because the military industrial complex is worldwide. And if you go back and have a look at World War II, there's a really good book. I can't think of the name of it now. It's not None Dare Call It Conspiracy. Tragedy and Hope by Carol U. Quigley. And it basically explains the history up to about 1990s. It explained how both sides of World War II were actually funded by, like, they were financiered. So the weaponry that was being sold to one side, I guess you could call it the bank, was then financing the other side to the defensive weaponry. And like I've always said, it's just fascinating how Russia has really good missiles, and then how the US has really good, how Russia has really good anti-aircraft missiles, and then the US has amazing aircrafts. It's like, what, did they just find UFO tech and one happened to focus on missiles and one happened to focus on aircraft? I don't know. It's just interesting stuff to think about. Like, how come they didn't develop at the same rate and have the exact same tech? Which is what China's probably working on, because they just clone everything and then they end up with some, whatever they find. Sometimes it saves them a shit ton of money, I heard, because they just copy and they didn't have to do the research and development. So they end up with both, I would imagine, both the air defense of Russia and the aircraft of the US, depending on what they find. Although I have heard Russia doesn't give China, when they sell them their weapons, the actual top spec ones, and I would imagine maybe the US maybe does the same, but that could just be a conspiracy. I mean, I heard some of the stuff they were sending to Ukraine, if it ever arrives in time, the tanks weren't even the ones that were up to spec. That they were like, they looked like them, but didn't actually have the same capability. They were actually building them from scratch. And again, that was Ukraine then owing the US for that amount. So when they not launder the money as such, but we've all heard that, you know, when you create debt, you create more money, which is good in this economy. Hence why the US is facing its largest ever. The US debt top clock just keeps on ticking over at an insane rate. It's like, oh, that debt's good because that's all the money we've created. It's like, it doesn't matter that it's being worth less and less, and you know that your purchasing power is just wrecked now. And that's why people invented things like Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum and maybe Hex to counter this nonsense that we're seeing. And that's why then I think we're seeing the pushback from, I guess, regulators, and also the attack on things like privacy coins. And then we're seeing outright sanctions because they're claiming some people have used the mixers and services that could basically tumble some crypto. They're able to track and trace it, but then they blanket ban the entire service, which to me is like a double win for them, because they're like, oh, we got rid of the nefarious means, which we may or may not have anything to do with, but also we can just blanket ban anyone from actually using that and having any privacy, because we want to make sure we can track and trace every single US dollar that is being moved around the country and the planet and the globe, because US dollar is actually being burnt currently with quantitative tightening, and there's a shortage of it, and hence it's why it's so strong, because, you know, supply and demand. Similar to the way, I think, the way Hex will function when T-shares start becoming more and more scarce. You know, the price, there'll be less and less Hex available. There'll be an inflated rate of Hex available, but a lot of it will be locked up because people would be, well, I would imagine people will be trying to chase T-shares because anyway, whole different stream. But I can imagine that sort of stuff taking place. Now, I then have a few things here. Yeah, the weather does matter too. They call it general winter or something, I think. The Russians, the Ruskies. Because yeah, I remember watching a documentary from, we have like a thing called SBS here. It's like multinational videos that win all these awards, but it's all in different languages. One of them was like a reenactment of people in the war with Napoleon. And basically, he was retreating away from Russia because he was just wrecked, because it was the middle of winter, and they come through a farm and they're like, we need your horses, your carts, and your cattle as well, because I was starving, freezing, and had no transport. The people, I think, reluctantly gave it to them, but he pointed out things can get pretty nasty in the winter. Now, the unsealed documents, which I was referring to, basically articles here, Jeffrey Epstein data dumps, I guess you'd call them, or documents being unsealed. 1st of January 2024, 14 days delay. So mid-January is going to be huge for the news cycle. So probably expect some more news to distract us from that news, because I honestly foresee, if this list of these individuals, like, this is a complete conspiracy right now, but these individuals, I would imagine, are somewhat powerful. We've seen literal royalty from other countries tied up in this, allegedly, reportedly, and if there is people more powerful than that, or if there is people who have more reach than royalty, in some way, shape, or form on these lists, no, I could imagine there's some other events that take place which could distract us all from this. Whether it's social media outage, whether it's wars, conflicts, whether it's the economy booming, crypto booming, or busting, one of the two, I don't know. But if everyone's getting mad rich, maybe, just maybe, this stuff gets swept under the rug, which they actually pointed out at the bottom of this, that it explained here in June, JPM Chase reached 290 million settlement with victims over Epstein's claims the bank overlooked the financing of sex trafficking and abuse because it wanted to profit from a banking relationship with him. So it's like, how deep does this go? Can we actually do much about it? I mean, I probably shouldn't be worried about this stuff, because I remember listening to, I think it was Tristan Tate, tweet something. It was like, why care about this shit until you're mad rich? And then once you're mad rich, maybe you care about it because you can sort of swing your funds around a little bit more. But I think what I could try and cover it now. If everyone tries to cover their interest, maybe, just maybe, the world awakens to that particular topic. So that's why I do this. Hopefully some of it makes sense. Hopefully it does awaken some other people. Hopefully other people have interest in this and they take the snippets, not out of context, but they go and research it further and go, okay, shit, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? Okay, maybe he said it in the wrong order. Maybe he said the wrong word. But maybe, just maybe, if they look deep enough into the research, they, discover, I don't know, the deep state or the military industrial complex, or where the money is coming from that funds these never-ending wars, and why this was allowed to take place. If we have such a huge ability, well, not myself, but every country has a huge ability of countering all of this, shouldn't this be the job of the law enforcement and, I don't know, to an extent, counterintelligence, to stop? Like, isn't this a huge issue that a US citizen is was reportedly servicing, to an extent, UK royalty? Like, I call me crazy, but maybe, just maybe, some intelligence agencies might want to see what the fuck's going on here. Like, I don't know, for their own national security. Like, I could imagine being in Australia and it's like, oh, we discovered on this list, Jeffrey Epstein's list, this person from Australia is on the list. Now, if that happens, I'm going to be like, what? Why? How? And wouldn't that be of interest? And I think I should be able to talk about that, I guess from a citizen journalist point of view. But then we see the persecution of what happens when you act in that manner, such as Julian Assange. He's still locked up, he's still wrecked, his life's been crushed, and hopefully he gets freed. But if that's the way freedom exists in the West and across in all the world, it's a very sad state, because it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels more like you have to be really careful what you say, because you might lose your channel. You have to be really careful what you tweet about, even on a freedom-loving platform, because other unelected bodies might come in and start investigating you for spreading what they deem illegal content, which is very curious. how this is even going to take place, but it says EU officials will probe whether graphic content from Hamas attack on Israel was allowed to spread across the site. Okay, well then that brings to mind. Anyway. So basically, because of reportedly potentially one little thing, they have to crush the entire site. So it's going to be like, okay, so Tornado Cash was used. We determined it was used. We tracked and traced where it was used. We know who used it, but we've decided that instead of prosecuting them, we're going to go after the smart contract. It's like, hang on, what? You said you knew who it was. Why aren't you going after them? Why aren't you stopping them from doing it? Why aren't you letting them go and just tracking them and letting them do their shit and then capturing them at the end? He's like, no. We have to stop the smart contract. So it just blows my mind to think about, to overthink about these things, basically. Now, closing up soon, we have, so this thing here. Federal Orders Communications document, naming Jeffrey's Epstein's associate to be unsealed. That is about it. Yeah, this one here, breaking X, Reddit, YouTube are all down for users globally. Like maybe it was at one point in time. And what else? That is about it. Twitter's recovering a lot. It's looking a lot better. And there was one other thing. I can't remember what it was. Oh, crypto. That's right. Crypto. Hopefully it is the end. Hopefully what was a WAP challenge? Hopefully it is the end of the bear market and we're going to start entering into the bull market. Now for crypto, when I say crypto, I'm talking about Hex, Pulse Chain, PulseX, INC, maybe some other Hedron, Akos, the Maxis, maybe some other stuff, maybe, I don't know. But if everything pumps, I will not be sad. And if everything pumps extremely well, it's like, will I be making videos about this horrible stuff? I probably will. I don't know how I could improve them, but that's the thing, even with money. I'll be a richer, happier person talking about depressing topics, basically. Maybe we'll all, as Hexicans, have more followers and more clout because we'll be like, well, we kind of called some crypto shit, right? And now the loon birds, are mad rich now and sucked in legacy. That'll be good to see, honestly. As long as the regulators don't decide to flip a switch and be like, activate, Order 66 and go after everyone who's ever touched crypto, which I don't think is going to happen, because it sounds like all of the institutions are messing with it in a certain way, in a limited way, probably a documented way, and it seems as if people really like money, and if there's lots of money to be had, the love of money is the cause or root of all evil. I've heard a famous saying. Now, I still hold that to be true, and unfortunately, I feel like the planet's just we're a bunch of demons. Honestly, I remember when everything was at all-time highs. It just felt, I don't know, it felt weird. It felt amazing, and I don't know, it kind of felt almost evil. It felt like I sold my soul to get that sort of money, and I can't help but think, when it happens again, people have said the money amplifies people's traits. When it happens again, it's going to be interesting to see what all the Hexicans turn into. Are we going to be the peace-loving, group of activists, or are we just going to be purely for profit, or are we going to be purely pushing XYG agenda? I honestly don't know. We have such a huge, diverse mix amongst us, and I'm thinking we're going to see some new people enter in for whatever reason, whether it be politically motivated, whether it be profit driven to try and scam everyone, or whether it be we onboard someone like Elon Musk, for example. Not exactly him, but someone like him who has shit tons of money and wants to change the planet and make it a better place. And they thought, well, we'll throw some money around. Maybe it hits, but people with that much money, I'm not so sure cryptocurrency is the thing for them, because it's how can they convince their money managers to invest in something like this? I personally couldn't see it happening. I can see someone getting mad rich and then just throwing money around everywhere. That's most likely what's happening with cryptocurrency. But then once it gets to like the next level, where the money is managed and they have to like sign off on a billion things to get money released to certain things. I don't know whether it's through trusts or whether it's through investments or like business proposals. Maybe it's institutional investors. It'll be a whole new thing. So I don't think it's going to be initial like high net wealth individuals throwing money around initially. I think it's more people who just like basically like won the lottery, have all these extra funds and are building shit and are trying to make more money, which is fine. And some of them stayed within one ecosphere, some of them spread out, some of them were here before us, like the people who I guess struck it rich with Bitcoin, the people who struck it rich with Ethereum and every other L1. A lot of other tokens that got released from inception. If you got in early, I think remember the Richard Hart was it a quote? It's like people who get rich are early adopters and founders. And it's like, well, if some of us were early in Hex, PulseX, maybe in the next 15 years we're going to see mad gains. But we're also going to see a different, scared me. We're going to see a different world we enter into. And I'm concerned that that world will be brought about by things like global conflict and things like social media has been taken down and things like fear that we saw with pandemics. That is my concern. I like to think the goodness comes out, but sometimes, you know, freedom's lost are very hard to get back. But I did see, what was it? A really good stream by, I think it's Z Media. Usually I don't like her content that much, but if I play it on here, it's gonna get an outright strike. It's really frustrating. But she basically broke down all of the. She's Australian as well, which is kind of cool. She broke down an article and it explained like what happened then and what's happening now. And I can't explain what, but the findings, the scientific data is more available now, and it's almost like comparing people early on in Bitcoin, for example, saying that they definitely knew without a doubt that in 13 years time Bitcoin would be this much. This impossible. And it's like them saying, it's like the naysayers saying, we definitely know for a fact this Bitcoin thing is just going to be crap garbage. You're all wrong. You're crazy conspiracy theorists if you believe in crypto. 13 years later, Bitcoin does what? Like, you know, within that time frame, cryptos are like popping up like mushrooms. And now it's like shit coins are popping up like mushrooms, meme coins are popping up like mushrooms. Anyone can make one, but the proper ones, there's no way to control them. The only way I can think of controlling them, especially in Hex, for example, like a community, would be through like inception, through the infiltration of the community and allowing for your particular, you know, like say for some reason I like this particular football team, soccer team, basketball team, hockey team, I don't know, cricket team, and for some reason I just get into the community and then out of nowhere I like pivot and I start just shilling this shit hard. It's like, well, maybe that was the like intent all along, but if that's the case and then they're trying to, you know, attract those fans and those fans are then, oh, okay, crypto, and they sort of come over to crypto, not so bad, especially if it's not just maybe not all purely, it's going to be purely for money, because why else are they're going to invest by purchase things that are potentially going to make them rich, you know. But if people are actually you know, like doing that, that's kind of interesting because it's like spreading out the good word of what they think is what they think is a good maybe investment, purchase, hobby, I don't know, which is XYZ cryptocurrency. And they're like sharing it to their friends and family. But if the message is getting out that it's really bad and then it's being spread to those communities, that could be a negative. Like people going around at the moment saying, oh, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. At one stage, it was frowned upon. Now it's like you go on, here in Australia, we turn on the news and it actually has every night the financial reports and it says this is the price of gold, silver, US dollar, Australian dollar, and Bitcoin. It's like tracking it in real time. Previously, if you called them or tweeted at them or tried to reach out to them and say, could you please include crypto, that would be like, no, that's a scam. Like, and now a few years later, and it's just on the mainstream news. And I think it's the only one that's tracked. Actually, I'll pull it up and show you, and then I'll close out this particular stream because I'm just sort of rambling at the moment off the top of my head of things that I think is going on. And like I said, back on the what's it called? Let's have a look. Is it 7 News? I guess 7 News. I can't remember. So I remember the article that came out. I think it was Bloomberg, and it's like they were actually. I'm pretty sure they were in the community, like seeing what was going on. Now, if we go to 7 News here in Australia, do they have a financial? If they don't, I'll end the stream here. Finance. Okay, so if I click on 7 News, for instance. Finance, if it spins up. Man, it's not spinning. What is going on? Come on. Come on, man. What the Oh, I haven't sworn once this stream. Come on. Oh, here we go. That's why. Economy, markets. Maybe it's in markets. Oh, okay. It may have a segment, they may not. It says here, it says ASX takes hefty hit following inflation fears out of the US, which is surprising because I thought, everything's green. But apparently, yeah. ASX, which is here in Australia, the equivalent of like the Dow Jones, ends year on a down note. Stock slide on renewed economic fears. Low. People have been trying to point this out. Where is... Well, I guess a good example then, since I can't find it, a good example is if we look at MarketWatch, right? MarketWatch. And we go MarketWatch. And it's like, a lot of people use MarketWatch for whatever reason. I used to. I don't use it as much because, like I said, I don't use this particular outlet for its information. But if we have a look here, MarketWatch, everything's god damn. And then we got features. Let's go. Right. Futures. Silver, gold, and then we have here on MarketWatch of all things. Now, this is not new, but it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Monero. All right, Hexagons, if anyone's watching this, we need to figure out how to get Hex post-chain on MarketWatch. That is, I want to see that shit. That'll be amazing. But can it take place? Well, post-chain is a fork of Ethereum. Hex is extremely under, what's the word? It's like a stealth boat, stealth submarine. No one even realizes it's there. No one knows how it works. So they realize how scarce it's going to get, and then they're going to get more of it. They're going to need more T-shares, and most people should understand the story. So MarketWatch, if you ever catch this stream, did you know that the price of a T-share only ever goes up? Right? And if you want to get Hex, you need T-shares, which is fine because there's an abundance, what appears to be abundance right now, and it's relatively cheap. Moving forward though, as the price of T-shares go up, it will become more difficult to obtain them. And not just because you need more money, because you need more time. And because people who had staked early on, it's called staking or mining, whatever you refer it to. Well, the mining aspect, I think it was originally staking, which is technically called staking on the contract. However, it relates closely to mining. But if you actually look on chain, it actually what it says it does, it burns and then mints tokens. Now, aside from that, there's my opinion on that. Aside from that, it becomes more scarce. And why does it become more scarce? Because even though the price may not change in Hex, maybe the price stays exactly the same. If you want to get the same amount of T-shares, and the maximum is only 15 years, currently, if you put the same amount of money in for 4 years, and you put that same amount of money in, you can no longer get the same amount of T-shares. Now, you can actually put the amount you got plus the newly minted Hex in with it, and then you can push it out further, and then you can get more T-shares. But then, you got to wait another 4 more years for that. So over time, it'll get to a point, I think, where the price, due to its scarcity of circulating Hex, because the liquid Hex will be sitting there, and then the other Hex will be locked away in T-shares. I heard a valid point, I think it was from Access, basically saying also, not sure what people are doing with their LP providing and where they're doing it, but it's going to be interesting to see, as the T-share ratchets, what the price of Hex is going to do. And in a bull market, we've seen how quickly and how ferociously Hex can move. We can see how hard it can pull back. But if it can pull back as quick as it can ratchet up to the right, like how hard is it 3x from the all-time highs from Hex? I don't think it's that hard. The question is, where's the money going to come from? And the question is, do people want the T-shares? That's my thoughts on it. There's also the whole... it's even like, what is it 50% more scarce because of the OA's actions as well? I'm not sure if that's being taken into account. So everything that's done in the system, then you have the duplicate taking place in the, well, not duplicate, but the OA does its thing too. And it's like, well, so you have a whole pie. If you can envision 100% pie, it's like 50% is already taken out because of OA. I think it's, I can't remember the number. And then what's taking place is actually in that small 50% chunk, which is kind of amazing because, yeah, once the scarcity hits in, it's going to be glorious. It's going to be bull markets like we've never seen before. And then on top of that, later on in like 15 years, it's going to be bull markets like we've never seen before. After this bull market, like we've never seen before. I can't wait. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. The sudden wealth syndrome was valid as well in the previous bull run for Hex. Although, you could analyze it and be like, could have been whale games. But I'm extremely positive on the Hex outlook because I know for a fact myself, if I still haven't been DCAing as much as I wanted to, but should I decide to DCA in more because I get some freed up capital, because the economy is performing better, because I work some more hours, this sounds bad. It sounds like, just putting more money into it makes the price pump, but it does. But then if you're locking it away and you're using it like a term, the same certificate of deposit, I could see that force being a force multiplier on top of the T-shares ratcheting. And I think a lot of people can understand this, but they've got sick of saying it and sick of making the same videos. And then they probably got sick of it because they got mad rich. And I don't know. Maybe there's a saying when the best time to attack a crocodile, an alligator, I can't remember, is after it's eaten, because after it's eaten, it's all its desires to, its ambition's gone, because it's like you're struggling in life, you want to get a better job, you're borderline homeless, you got to look after your kids, you haven't got much money, you got to pay off this house or lose it, you got sick family, trying to put your kids through school, stuff like that. You work hard every day, whatever job it is, you just work hard because you have to do this. Then this big fat bag of money gets dropped in your lap and you pay off everything and everything's all good. What are you then doing, Probably not much, which is a good position to be in. But then some people, maybe they're already inclined one way to change the world. Someone like Elon Musk, or someone like the creator of particular cryptocurrencies, maybe, just maybe, they, build something to provide potential wealth for other people with, fuck knows why. Like, honestly, I don't know why the founder of Hex created Hex, and then I don't know why I was able to discover it, and I don't know why, why bother? But they did, and then it did what? It's like, why did the person invent Bitcoin? Why did the person invent Ethereum? Arguably for money. Maybe they honestly wanted to provide financial freedom. I don't know. It's very easy to say it's all benevolent and everyone loves everyone, and there's no people in any system that are purely profit driven. But the older I get, the harder it is to believe that there's never ever any evil in the world. I do believe there's lots of good in the world, but I also believe there's lots of evil, and the evil ones will mock, taunt, and try and destroy the good ones, from my understanding. That's a shame, because quite often the people who should be in charge, large amounts of money, looking after a country, being in government, maybe they're not the ones who want to be in charge because they're not psychopathic enough, So applying that to then cryptocurrency, I'm not sure how that works, because maybe there's just like some vicious, savage way of trying to just wreck everyone, and then they just become ultimate like Poseidon, and then they're just happy and they just reveling in everyone's pain right now. And maybe that's happening and trying to happen in every single cryptocurrency. Who knows? Who knows? Try not to swear. All right, that's enough of my ramblings. Yeah. I really hope Hex continues to do what is kind of designed to do. And it will be interesting if there was less participants in the space, what it will do. Can, for instance, I exist only with the OA, and then what would happen? Would it still be possible for something to function like that? That'll be the real test, that'll be amazing, because there's like literally you and the code running, and you can still put something in and then get out more, which is at the moment in energy it's impossible, supposedly. But it's like, well, how does the Earth spin around the sun? Like, isn't that? I guess that eventually that spring recoils and doesn't continue on forever. But yeah, it seems like it to me. It seems like pretty infinite how the galaxy functions. Is at one point in time the galaxy is just going to not function anymore? There's going to be no more gravity, no more magnetic forces pulling on each other, pushing on each other. No. Is there such thing as infinite energy? Is the infinite energy we got the solar system part of it? And if yes, why can't we tap into that infinite energy? If yes, why can't we create things that is infinite in nature? I mean, up until I think like a long time in the future, I think hex code works. Pretty sure Pulse Train, as long as computers still work, that is. But yeah. Interesting. All right, yeah, so free speech, closing out on this one, signing out. Hopefully that helps someone. And just to recap, basically what I covered. Social media was down, which would be a catastrophic event if it stayed down. Australia, we can't send any ships because we actually don't have them. World War III talks, fear-mongering about Russia expanding into other EU territories, most likely Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. And Ukraine's front line is having issues because they physically can't handle the ongoing costs of war. Also mentioned that China warned the US that they plan to take Taiwan by any means in the future. Who knows, maybe around January, mid-January. I don't think so, but that's just, that date is stuck in my mind because of the whole Epstein list being released. And whilst before that date of the Epstein list being released, we honestly have the EU are trying to attack Musk's X for spreading quote unquote what they deem illegal content. So they're trying to crush it before, I don't know, the Epstein list gets released and people start making memes about it. Who knows? And then then we got the Epstein stuff. Lots of articles broke down mid-January. Stay tuned, mid-January. And on top of all that, I think I'm hoping. I don't know. I'm hoping that this is the end of the bear market, and we're beginning to see the start of the bull market. You know, as it leads into the halvening, as it leads into all these bullshit indicators that I don't know enough about. That's why I call it bullshit, because there's probably actual real data there, like such as the halvening and what tends to take place. Like I said, I was watching Ivan. One of his guests was explaining, halvening, Bitcoin rises. It almost has like a multiplier effect. People take a little bit of money, put it into altcoins. Altcoins grow exponentially, and then take that money. Maybe they put it back into Bitcoin, and then they maybe put it into some other altcoins, and then it sort of spreads, like a massive chart. And then you see the shit that took place in 2017, 2019, just insane ups. It's comparable to God knows what, because if you try and do that in stocks, you have to be in it for like the inception and wait 50 years, and then you see the mad gains, over that long period of time. Crypto, if you're looking to get rich fast and hard and quick, then maybe, just maybe, cryptocurrency is should be included somewhere in your risk tolerance, because on a scale of like 1 to 100, how risky is crypto? 100 being the most risky. I would say it's on par with trading trading options, because you could lose all of it. But crypto, you might not lose all of it, but it might just be worthless. And same with options. You might not lose all of it, but it might be worthless. Anyway, that is about it. I want to keep going, but honestly, I've got nothing else to talk about. Like, I've said the part, and now I think I have to wait till tomorrow, analyze what's going on, see if there's any updates, see if there's any war front movements, see how the supply chains are going, see how the rates are going. Christmas is coming up though. It's going to get pretty quiet. Sometimes over the Christmas period, some weird legislation comes through, like the Federal Reserve Act 1913, some other stuff. There was some recent Pfizer, I think it was Act 702, and basically it said it could spy on anyone who's interacting with US citizens. So technically, me making a stream, what if someone from the US watches it? What if I talk to someone on Telegram from the US? Am I now interacting with them? And does that give reach for agencies to then spy on me? Who knows? I've heard that basically if you they use the agencies like I can't remember what it's called, the Five Eyes. It's like they can't spy on their own people, but other countries can spy on the other person, and they provide notes back to the country that they want to look up stuff on. So I'm like, yeah, I feel nice and free right now, knowing that all this shit's being tracked and traced, and with the emergence of all this censorship, golly gosh, it's looking good, people. For some freedom. If you think freedom is being locked down and tracked and traced through a central bank digital currency and issued an amount of protein that you can and cannot eat. And recently there was a carrier that carries cash here in Australia saying by 2026 they're not even sure if they're going to have contracts to move cash around. And one of the 7-Elevens here in Australia actually took down the ATMs. So if you want to get money, you can't get it from there as much as you once could. Yeah, this is the stuff that's just streaming into my mind that I was thinking of that I didn't, and I missed. And I can honestly see like a quota being issued of how much red meat you can eat. So it's extremely important that you eat your red meat, eat your raw eggs, don't eat the insects, don't eat the bugs. It's almost like do the opposite within reason of what they say. It's like, why are you telling me I can't have a car? I want to go drive around. why can't I eat meat? Why do I have to take that medicine? Anyway. All right, why can't I be free? All right, free speech signing out, and yeah, hopefully, this helps towards that type 2 civilization, because Elon Musk has now pointed out that type 1 is just lame, so he's kind of ruined type 1 civilization for me. So hopefully we just punch straight through type 1 and get straight to type 2. But how long is that going to take? You know, at this rate, it feels like forever. All right, free speech signing out. Thank you. See ya. Bye.